Welcome to Whatsoever More or Less. My name is Jason, and I am just a guy who's studied the prophets a lot, the Constitution a lot, especially on a daily basis for the past year and a half or so. Maybe 5-6 years ago, I put the full, complete copy of the Constitution on my wall. I got it down to 8 pages. That was a real learning experience, and I would occasionally, they were easy frames to pull down because they were right next to our couch. I would occasionally reference it, try to break through it, and understanding it. Listen to the Federalist Papers, listen to Ezra Taft Benson, H. Rowland Anderson, Dallin H. Oaks, all that kind of stuff. That's me, not a lawyer. One of my closest friends ever did go to law school and teach me some concepts, which was very interesting. It just in conversation, it wasn't more like him teaching, but at times he did offer to consult with me. So that's me. And anyhow, basically, I wanted to talk today about endurance. Now, I just posted a video last night regarding, and I kind of treated it like it was a 4-step program in the way I presented it, because to a certain degree, that's what it is President Benson gave us a list of the 4 things that we need to do to be the ones who will step up to the plate and maintain this form of government, this proper relationship between persons that the Constitution set up until the day the Savior comes. And I said, if you've gotten through the first step, congratulations. Now consider moving on to the next step and the next step and the next step. But there's more to endurance than just those things. There's endurance in, let's go to a basic endurance in our missions, right? You get called on your mission. Well, let's talk about even prior to your mission. Nowadays, they say you need to have your high school diploma or the equivalent thereof, depending on your country you're from, what have you. And then you get to put in your mission papers. So you have to endure in finishing your status as a high school student. Then you get on your mission. Now we have this term we throw around called trunky. When you get towards the end of your mission, a lot of times people are starting to look forward so much to get back home and dating and going to college and what have you, that they start getting distracted from the mission and not doing it near as well. But the missionaries who are going to feel the best about themselves will force themselves to keep going, even if they're already starting to anticipate the next thing, right? Which is what I did, I would like to say. I wasn't super missionary or anything like that, but I worked hard till the end. Let's go with that. And then when you're home from your mission, now you're supposed to endure in dating until you find somebody to marry, right? And don't quit dating. And then once you're engaged, you're supposed to endure in the engaged status until you're married. You're not supposed to start doing, let's say, married people things until after the actual ceremony's been carried out, not prior, right? And then once the actual ceremony's been carried out and you're married, you're supposed to endure in being a married person and those covenants really forever. I don't know what happens next on the other side of the veil regarding what the next upgrade of those covenants is. If there's even an upgrade, I would imagine there is, but that's besides the point. So we're talking about endurance. Now let's talk about endurance in spiritual laws too. So in 3 Nephi 1, there was a moment where they had seen the sign, the day without night, or the night without darkness, what have you. And they knew that the Savior had been born into the earth. And there were those who began to endeavor to prove by the scriptures to everybody else, hey, we don't have to live the law of Moses anymore. But this was a misunderstanding. And it was probably being so excited about the next thing they were going on to, the next step, that they were failing to endure in what they were supposed to continue doing until the Savior gave them what the next step was, right? And so they had to be corrected on that, because the next step wasn't given until around 3 Nephi 18, 19, somewhere around there. Gosh, I got to go back and review it. But somewhere around there, that's where he institutes the sacrament. There's twice, I think, where he gives the sacrament in 3 Nephi. But prior to that, he teaches baptism. But from what I understand, baptism goes back to the Old Testament days. But he teaches that right off the bat in 3 Nephi 11. So right off the bat, when he starts showing up, he starts telling them the new law. But prior to that day, they were under obligation to live the law of Moses, even if they were broken up, even after 3rd Nephi 7, even if there was a period of, hey, we're no longer together. What do they say? That was around like 26 AD, 27 AD, right? They were still supposed to, wherever they were, whatever pocket of freedom they were in, keep living the law of Moses, right? So now here we are, and we've been told that Savior will come again, and he will personally rule and reign for 1,000 years on the earth. There will be a new system of government. The government will be upon his shoulders, right? But it hasn't happened yet. We haven't been given that new form of government, the government upon his shoulders, how he wants to break up the delegations of this and that. We haven't been given it yet. And in the meantime, we've been told by Wilford Woodruff that constitutional principles are to endure until the Savior comes again. And by Harold B. Lee, that the Constitution is the law to go forth from Zion. So I guess what I'm saying is, here we are, we're at the end of the race. We're tired, and we know we're about ready to get those snacks on the table or whatever that's at the end of the race, right? And so we start slowing down, right? Don't. Work hard. Apply the same principles you would apply to the end of your mission. Apply the same principles you would apply to the end of your engagement prior to the actual wedding ceremony. As a matter of fact, the second coming is compared to a wedding ceremony, right? So let's get it right. And that's my concept. And then let's go ahead and I do plan on doing the Article 1, Section 8 through 10 real soon here. Compared it then to the 10th Amendment in particular, and the preamble to the Bill of Rights, which we don't even teach people the preamble to the Bill of Rights anymore. But if you don't endure in reading, really honestly, Article 1, Section 7 through 10 as one big whole, or even Article 1, Section 8, which is really one massive sentence. There's no period until the very end of the whole thing. So to read the first clause as though it's a standalone clause, or the last clause as though it's a standalone clause, right, that's a lack of endurance. Okay, there are times when that's useful exercise. I used to do strongman. I don't do it anymore. It shows, but that's an endurance thing in and of itself. And at times we do pin presses where we put the bar up on a pin, and we only press from the practice the last portion. Or there's times when we practice the first portion and then hit the pins and continue pushing up against it, things like that, that force you to develop a weak spot, because we do have weak spots, right? I would say our weak spots in reading Article 1, Section 8 are the first clause and the 18th clause, and then the obvious weakness of not recognizing the preamble, the Constitution, and the 10th Amendment. And we'll get into that later. And then again, weak spots that I'm seeing happening a lot right now as people are starting to anticipate the second coming, which seems to be obviously real soon here, real soon being a relative term, but based on the way the prophets have spoken, especially President Nelson. In the meantime, guess what? We're still to endure and being held accountable before God for our actions in relationship to the government. Why would we want to compromise that at the last minute, like an engaged couple who compromises their engagement at the last minute prior to the wedding, right? The wedding is coming soon. The bridegroom is coming. And in the meantime, let's stay faithful to our covenants, which part of those covenants involves what's in Doctrine and Covenants, and which is what is in Doctrine and Covenants. It establishes again and again, as clear as day, that the Constitution is the law we are to befriend until the Savior comes again. And so that's my main thought for today. I'm going to, yesterday, like I said, I posted the Ezra Taft Benson one. Please look that up. The four levels of being properly accountable to God in relationship to our government, right? Righteousness is the first one. There are 3 other levels afterwards. And please look it up. Be diligent. And we're all imperfect. This is not me like making myself, hey, better than you or anything like that. I'm just trying to build confidence. Now that my confidence has been built, I'm just trying to pass it on. And I think that's what we're supposed to do as members of the church anyhow, with every aspect of the gospel. Pass on whatever you have. Share your light. Don't be underneath a bushel, right? So I love what the Constitution tells me my relationship is supposed to be with my fellow man. I think that's a huge detail of what the Savior's doctrine is. He wants us to treat each other right. And all right, thanks you guys for watching. I just want to bear my testimony. The Savior is coming. I absolutely know it, and I love him and look forward to it. And we'll talk to you later.